This is Mac OS Ken.
Late reactions to peak performance, COVID screwing up the supply chain again, and Apple tells Texas to knock it off. It is Monday, the 14th of March, 2022. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. This show is also sponsored by SimpliSafe, the right way to protect your home. What do U.S. News, PC Magazine, and Popular Science have in common? They all rank SimpliSafe Home Security as the best home security of 2021, and U.S. News just named SimpliSafe the best home security of 2022 as well. I like the fact that SimpliSafe lets you build the system that's right for you. With a comprehensive set of sensors and cameras, including the all-new wireless outdoor security camera, you always know what's going on inside and outside your home. On the home side, setup is a breeze. Installing my sensors, keypad, and base station took me way under an hour. At the other end is the best 24/7 professional monitoring in the business, always ready to send police, firefighters, or EMTs to your home as soon as they're needed, and all for less than $1 a day. You can customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplysafe.com/macOSKen. Go today and claim a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring. SIMPLI. Go to simplysafe.com/macOSKen. A note from another big Apple watcher addressing last week's peak performance event. That's the event wherein Apple announced plans to bring baseball to Apple TV+. It is also where and when the company announced an updated iPhone SE, an updated iPad Air, the new Mac Studio desktop, and the new Studio display. Reacting to the event, Morgan Stanley analyst Katie Huberty. Apple 3.0 ran part of a note she wrote, quoting part of that part, "While many of these products won't necessarily move the needle on a standalone basis, difficult to do for a company with over $365 billion in revenue, they will collectively represent tens of millions of incremental product shipments that will help Apple maintain industry-leading retention rates, attract new users, and grow both hardware and services spend per user." That to me is so insightful. So many analysts and Apple watchers are still looking for the next iPhone. Apple may be too big for that at this point. Save something truly revolutionary. And even then, with so many Apple products and services doing as well as they are, would we even be able to make out how big the next big thing is when it hits? So often, I like the way she thinks. Huberty has an overweight rating on Apple shares. While she's maintaining her firm's price target on the shares of $210, she and hers see upside to their previous expectations around iPhone and the Mac. Evercore analyst Daryanani has taken a few days to consider how big a thing the 5G iPhone SE3 could be for Apple. Apple 3.0 posted part of a note he wrote over the weekend, the first of 2 times we'll hear from AdRock today. According to that, he and his think Apple could ship more than 35 million of the new iPhone SEs in their first year of availability. That's based on historic growth that we can, unfortunately, not check. He and his estimate the first iPhone SE sold about 25 million units in its first year. They think the second sold about 29 million units in its first year. Assuming similar growth lands the analyst at 35 million or more this time around. And that could be a decent amount of dosh even for a company the size of Apple. According to the analyst, at a blended ASP of about $450 or modestly higher given a higher base price, shipments at that volume could generate an additional $15 to $20 billion in annual revenues approximately 4% to 5% of total sales. Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is $210. When new products go up for order, it can be interesting, if not altogether informative, to see what's still available day one and what would require a bit of patience. To that end, I hit Apple's site to check availability of iPad Air, the green-hued models of the iPhone 13 line, and iPhone SE over the weekend. Of the products Apple put up for pre-order on Friday, the one playing hard to get is the one that, at first glance anyway, seems the least exciting. Not including the green iPhone 13s, they're just green iPhones. Checking Sunday afternoon, shipping times for iPhone SE had slipped to the end of this month. Running a check of every color, carrier unlocked, and every storage capacity showed the phone landing in the hands of would-be buyers on the 29th of March for free shipping. Consumers could have it by the 28th of March if they're willing to pay $8 extra. That said, at least for my local Apple store, I could have placed an order online and picked it up in-store this Friday, the 18th of March, so that may be an option for you as well. Moving to the updated iPad Air. If you're cool with Wi-Fi only, ordering Sunday afternoon would have made you a day one user. Shipping times for 64GB and 256GB models in several colors showed delivery this Friday, the 18th of March. Add cellular, though, and you might be adding time as well. For the 256GB models, Wi-Fi plus cellular showed a delivery window of the 29th of March through the 5th of April. Drop the storage down to 64GB, though, and you would still be surfing this Friday. At least that was the case as of Sunday. All the green iPhone 13s I checked, by the way, from the Mini to the Pro Max, did show availability this Friday. That said, I will confess that I'm not sure I checked them all. You kind of get lost after a while. Though they were made available for pre-order last Tuesday, we might as well go ahead and check Mac Studio availability as well. There is none, at least not this month. Buying off the rack, a base model Mac Studio powered by M1 Max shows a delivery window between the 5th of April and the 12th. Make it an M1 Ultra and you may be making it May. The window for one of those with no customization opens between the 26th of April and the 3rd of May. As for Apple's Studio Display, spending more means waiting more. Buying with the standard glass yields delivery in the second week of April, roughly 4 weeks from now. Add $300 for nano-texture glass, and you're adding another month to a month and a half. Apple's site offers no hard dates for that one, saying simply 8 to 10 weeks. If the wait for an Apple Studio Display has you thinking you could just make do with a great big LG UltraFine 5K display, you'll have to get it someplace besides Apple. A piece from Mac Rumors over the weekend says Apple has pulled the 27-inch monitor off of its site. Following the announcement of the Studio Display, the piece says Apple has removed the UltraFine 5K display from its online store, now only listing the 23.7-inch UltraFine 4K display starting at $699. LG's own website also lists the UltraFine 5K display as sold out, and it's not entirely clear if the display will be restocked anytime soon. Now, get ready to forget all the dates I just gave you for wait times for the latest Apple hardware. I've said it before, and sadly I am having to say it again. We may be done with COVID, but, well, you know what could lengthen the already long wait time for Mac Studio even more? COVID-19. I don't want to be Danny Downer, so I'll let Apple Insider do that for me. That site has news of new COVID lockdowns in Shenzhen, China, that it says could potentially impact manufacturers and shipments. Sorry for laughing, I just know what's coming up. According to the piece, the government in China has put Shenzhen in lockdown due to a surge in COVID infections in Hong Kong. Under the order, the piece says, Everyone in Shenzhen, which has a population of 17.5 million people, will face 3 rounds of testing as part of a zero-tolerance strategy against the virus. With the exception of companies supplying food, fuel, and essential goods or services, all businesses were ordered to close or implement work-from-home policies. It is expected that the lockdown will persist until the 20th of March at the earliest. Knowing that had happened, a story a few hours later from 9 to 5 Mac really can't be a surprise. And yet, I had the temerity, the audacity, the unmitigated gall to go ahead and be surprised anyway. Since iPhones are not food, nor fuel, nor essential goods and services, their Shenzhen production has been stopped. As reported by Bloomberg, says 9 to 5 Mac, the lockdown has led Foxconn to suspend operations at 2 of its campuses in Shenzhen. To reduce the impact of the lockdown, the company has relocated production to other sites that are still operating regularly. No telling what that means for anything Apple makes, since Apple keeps what it makes where super secret. Be ready, though, to throw near-term delivery expectations back out the window. More news in a moment, but first a word from BetterHelp Online Therapy, sponsor of today's show. News of war, news of new lockdowns. You may think your personal stuff is nothing compared to the real problems in the world today. That is one way to think. I would counter, though, that you have to move through the world. If news of war and lockdowns, in addition to whatever else you're carrying around, feels like too much, help is available through BetterHelp. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anybody on camera if you don't want to. My last BetterHelp therapist and I did phone calls and text, which was the way that I was most comfortable. BetterHelp is more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. See, if you deal with the stuff you've been carrying for years, you're hopefully better able to deal with all the rest of it. Give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. Like I said before, this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and macOS Ken listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/macOSKen. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. And thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's show. Apple and a number of tech companies are making an appeal to states enacting anti-LGBTQ+ laws across the country. The short version, knock it off. 9 to 5 Mac highlights a report from the Texas Tribune that had a number of companies, including Apple, Google, IBM, and Meta, signing a letter coordinated by the Human Rights Campaign asking Texas Governor Greg Abbott to knock it off. 9 to 5 Mac says Abbott authorized investigations of families who allow transgender kids to receive gender-affirming care. Additionally, Texas and Abbott have a history of other pieces of anti-LGBTQ+ legislation and anti-women's rights legislation. 'Cause, small government or something. Quoting part of the letter signed by the companies, the recent attempt to criminalize a parent for helping their transgender child access medically necessary, age-appropriate health care in the state of Texas goes against the value of our companies. This policy creates fear for employees and their families, especially those with transgender children who might now be faced with choosing to provide the best possible medical care for their children, but risk having those children removed by Child Protective Services for doing so. We call on our public leaders in Texas and across the country to abandon efforts to write discrimination into law and policy. It's not just wrong. It has an impact on our employees, our customers, their families, and our work. Ahead of the letter, which ran as a full-page ad in the Dallas Morning News on Friday, Apple CEO Tim Cook posted a message to Twitter saying, "As a proud member of the LGBTQ plus community, I am deeply concerned about laws being enacted across the country, particularly those focused on our vulnerable youth. I stand with them and the families, loved ones, and allies who support them." There's a rumor out there that I would normally ignore, except for the person from whom it comes. Mac Rumors has TF International analyst Ming-Chi Kuo saying that Apple may save its best processors for iPhone for the high end of the line next time they put out an iPhone. According to Young MC, the two phones at the Pro end of the iPhone 14 line will sport an as-yet unreleased and unannounced A16 processor, while the two phones at the consumer end will stay with the current A15. Well, I guess that's one way to get people to spend more money. I don't know. I mean, he's right a lot of the times, but he's not right every time. Yeah, we'll see what happens in about half a year. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the second of two notes from Mr. Ad Rock. Evercore analyst Daryanani is really stoked about Apple's Friday Night Baseball announcement. That's the one that'll give Apple TV Plus subscribers 2 live Major League Baseball games every Friday night during the regular season, plus a lot of other baseball-related content. Ben Zinga has been through Daryanani's thoughts on the announcement, stripped out most of the words, and posted his thinking as bullet points. Basically, what he thinks people get wrong about Apple TV Plus is their assumption that Apple wants Apple TV Plus to be Netflix. Most of the criticism of the Cupertino streamer is rooted in misunderstanding Apple's actual intentions, reads the Post. According to Ben Zinga, Daryanani continues to see TV Plus as an excellent way to further Apple's goal of monetizing its installed base, which could eventually help shrink replacement cycles for hardware and provide a potential killer app for augmented and virtual reality. In case you've forgotten, in the last few minutes, Daryanani has an outperform rating on Apple shares. His price target on the shares is still $210. Good news, by the way, for baseball fans, Apple fans, and for Apple. Friday Night Baseball on Apple TV Plus has a start date. Apple's baseball announcement last week was kind of funny. It said that the service would be available as soon as the regular season begins. As a piece from my download blog explains, when the announcement was made by Apple, Major League Baseball and MLB Players Association were still in a pretty heated labor dispute, which had already led to the delay of spring training games. In other words, when Apple made the announcement last week, wasn't 100% certain that there would be a baseball season to watch. They've settled their dispute, though, and on Friday, the piece says, the official Apple TV Plus Twitter account confirmed Friday Night Baseball will start streaming on Friday, the 8th of April, 2022. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by SimpliSafe. Get a free indoor security camera plus 20% off with interactive monitoring at simplisafe.com/macOSCan. This show is also sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSCan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macoscan.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.